here with Mahalo Daily. We're at Comic-Con. It's the last day, and we've definitely been finding some very interesting people to talk to. Now, here's a man who you may not recognize, but you definitely would recognize his music from Friday the 13th and a couple of the Jason films, Harry Manfredini. Harry, thank you for talking with us.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
I want to know a little bit about what it's like to compose music, especially for some of the horror films that you've done.
What it's like? Well, it's like that's my job. It's what I wanted to do pretty much my whole life. And I'm one of these people who hears music in his head all day. So I pretty much look at things. I've heard it since I was a little kid. Something that I've always wanted to do.
Now, when someone approaches you about actually composing for a film, what is the step-by-step process, getting it all together?
Well, I get approached at various times, sometimes before the picture's even shot. More often than not, the picture's completed, so I really come in at the very end. Usually what happens is I'll sit down and watch the movie maybe 2 or 3 times, try to get an understanding of what's going on, what I think the music can do other than, just be music. I mean, music can do a lot of different things in a film, but I'll try to find those things that the music can actually address in the film that, let's say, the dialogue doesn't address, or the sound effects, or what the music can say, because the music says what can't be said. So I try to find those sort of thematic things and stuff like that, and then we'll have a conversation and talk about what I hear. Quite often I'll maybe sketch out a few things and give them an idea of where I want to go. And usually, and most people who've been given the money to make a movie, they have an idea where they want to go too. So we'll, kick that back and forth, and then off I go.
All right. What are your favorite kinds of movies to compose for?
Oi, 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 oi. Leah. Leah or Leia? You're going to be Leah this time.
That's the right one.
Okay, good. Actually, each one of them is a different thing. The fun thing about doing a horror film is that it's pretty much all bets are off. You can write anything you want. You can pretty much go in any direction you want. So that's fun for that reason. Some films, like for example House, which is another film that I did, which is a horror film, but it's really has a lot of kids sort of things. There's a baby pterodactyl and there's a little worm dog and stuff like that. So you've got characters that are really fun to write thematic things for. Other films have they may have a certain storyline or a plot or something that really interests me. I just you know I do horror films, but I just did the Anna Nicole Smith story.
Oh, okay.
So there was a tragedy, and so I had to come up with a very sad. That's a really sad story. I didn't know that much about it when I started it, but it's so I really had to come up with that kind of a theme, or every one of them has something that makes it fun to do. So I can't really say this is one I like better than another.
And if you were to give advice to, say, some of our viewers who are thinking about getting into composition for film, what advice would you give them?
Okay, the first thing I would say is orthodontia. No, that's a joke.
Okay.
The first thing I would say is don't close your mind to any one kind of music. I'm surprised you didn't say what's on your iPod. Excuse me. Because if you would listen to my iPod, you'd find everything from soup to nuts, from the farthest out classical music you can imagine, to country western, to heavy metal, to pop, to everything. So I'm really listening to everything. Also, you want to try to get an idea, go back to the classic film scores, and understand what the music can actually do in a film. Music sometimes, it's not just there. Lately music is just sort of something to dance to, like when you hear tunes in a film. To me, tunes in a film often push the viewer away. Suddenly, we interrupt this movie to hear a new hit tune.
Right.
Whereas the score really pulls you into the movie. So you really want to, quite often you'll go to a movie and you say, I didn't even notice the music, but I really like the film. And then you could go back and notice how, shut the sound off, and you'll find out how much the music,
how much power it actually has over your emotional reaction.
Right, exactly. So you get an idea for what the music can actually do. And sometimes it's just a little thing. For example, if I went, which is Friday the 13th, I mean, I needed to come up with something that was instantaneously recognized as that's the killer.
Right.
And I had to do it. I had to be able to do it so fast. So I made it a sound rather than a piece of music. It's more of a vocal effect.
All right, 2 last questions.
Okay.
1, who's your biggest musical influence? And 2, your favorite film score, either you've composed or even from another composer.
Good Lord.
Got to end on a tough note.
Those are two really big, tough notes. Who's my biggest influence? Okay, I would say I grew up when I was just a little Harry Manfredini, listening to Stan Kenton, which is jazz, and Puccini, which is Italian opera. But I'm influenced by Bernard Herrmann because he's probably the greatest film composer of all time, and Stravinsky and major film composers like that. Lately, I love Dream Theater.
Okay.
So, as you can see, I'm all over the place.
Right.
And what was the other one? What's my favorite film score?
Yes.
Good Lord. The favorite one I've done has got to be Friday the 13th because it was so. I like to think of that score as being myopic, in that it only played when the killer was there, so that the killer had we didn't even know who the killer was until Reel 10 and until Betsy Palmer pops up. Most people don't even know that Jason doesn't kill anyone in Friday the 13th. It's his mother. And so I really had to make a character for the killer occur through the film, even though we never knew who it was. So, I mean, I really liked the way that really affected that film and made that film pretty much work and generate, what are we up to now, 11 or 12 other films.
Right.
So,
awesome. Well, very interesting. Thank you so much for talking with us. It's been a pleasure.
I really appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks for coming by.
And for more, be sure to go to mahalodaily.com or watch on our YouTube channel. For Mahalo Daily, I'm Leah D'Amelio. We'll see you next time.